next speaker, another lovely, amazing human coming to the stage. The ever so lovely Samantha Yacobucci is incredible. Really enjoyed her presentation well during rehearsal. So once again, you're in for a treat. And just to keep it going, again, we asked some questions and our friends had some answers. So let's see what Samantha said. Ooh. What is a hill that you will die on, no matter how ridiculous, you will die on this hill? Samantha said, you cannot mix big and little spoons in the silverware drawer. I agree, Samantha. I agree. That would make me go crazy. Okay. If you had to live with one movie quote, if you can only say this one movie quote for an entire day, what would it be? Samantha said, "I don't understand the question and I won't respond to it." Yes, if you don't know, that is Lucille from Arrested Development. I love that. I feel like that's so fitting in so many situations. Incredible. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Make some noise for the ever so lovely Samantha Yacobucci.
Howdy, everybody. I am here tonight not to tell you, nay, I encourage you to drop an F-bomb at work. I'm going to go so far as to call it a team-building exercise. But let me back up. A couple of years, I had to put together a get-to-know-you bio, and they asked, what's your mantra? And for me, it was a no-brainer. Teamwork makes the dream work. And I really do believe that. In my 20 years in software, I have always worked on a team, and I've always had to work with other teams to be successful. And I'm not the only one. Harvard Business Review said the time spent in collaborative environments has bloomed to 50% of our time. Who here, I can't really see you, works on a team on a daily basis and has to collaborate? Yeah. So if we're going to do it, let's do it right. So I've read a lot about this and what makes a good team. And my favorite study is psychologists got a group of 700 people to participate. They broke them up into different teams, and they each had to work together to get a task done. And at first, they couldn't tell what made a good team. Some had a very strong leader, while others had a much more fluid dynamic. Some had, they each broke up the task and did them individually, and some worked together on every single task. But what they figured out in the end was that there were two key characteristics of high-functioning teams. And what those two characteristics were, the first one is folks talked about the same amount of time. And I have now dubbed this EDICT because it stands for Equitable Distribution in Conversational Turn-Taking. So it's a big mouthful. Yes, exactly. So that's why we're just going to call it EDICT from now on. But it doesn't matter, meaning it didn't matter the format, right? You could all be jumping in and you get excited and you talk, or you could do, the conch shell method, like you're going to talk for 5 minutes and then you talk for 5 minutes and then you talk for 5 minutes. Yeah, it didn't matter. In the end, everybody talked roughly the same amount of time. And the second characteristic was that everyone had what they called high average social sensitivity, meaning that you were able to intuit how somebody felt by their eye movement, their body language, any nonverbal cues. And then you might be asking, why is this important? It is important because if we're all working together and somebody is on your team is not feeling part of the group, you can notice it. And if you can notice it, you can take action, and then you can bring them back into the group so they don't feel left out anymore. So when you have both of these together, this is when the magic happens. This is when people start to, you would call psychological safety. People feel comfortable being vulnerable and taking risks. Now, of course, this can definitely happen organically. We've all been there. Or you could do what I said earlier. You could jumpstart it with my favorite, the F-bomb. Yeah, and what I'm going to say, I'll tell you my F-bomb story. So we're going to go way, way back in time to when they were rolling out Obamacare. And if you were anybody worked in healthcare or benefits, That's where, yeah. So if you were around and you were paying attention, it felt like they were rolling out changes every single day. And the changes, they were changing regulations, and you had to adjust to it. So my team and I were working, we're about halfway through this project. We were on target. We were going to reach the deadline exactly as we should. But what happens, of course, we get pulled into a meeting and we were told, oh, guess what? There's a change that really severely impacts us. You have to start all over, get together, figure out how to adjust, and also, of course, still deliver on time with the original date. So I just smiled. I gathered my team up, kept quiet, moved us to go all the way to the back, to the conference room, all the way to the back of the office, closed the door behind me. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, exactly. And some of them looked at me that wide-eyed, some, jaw dropped. But then we had a laugh, and then we got down to business. We talked about what I showed them. It doesn't have to be an F-bomb. It could be, an oy vey or an oh my Lanta, whatever it is. But what you're doing is showing them that it's okay to express your true, I was demonstrating it for them, your true feelings about what was going on. So we were able to vent, get that out, get down to business, and get back on track. So my challenge to you tonight is, next time you're in a meeting, look around. Is everybody talking roughly the same amount of time? Are people being vulnerable and expressing themselves? And if not, maybe it's time for you to drop that F-bomb. Thank you, everybody.
All right, give it up for Samantha Yacobucci.